Well, another topic that we want to talk about, and this is something that
Yes,
you're kind of excited to talk. Well, you're like interested in talk about the
very much so.
interview with T.S. Madison and Monique. Now, T.S. Madison has been doing this talk show on Fox Soul, which
Mhm.
I never get to watch it, but I do watch a little bit of the clips, and I've seen a lot of the clips that she had with this with Monique,
Mhm.
and they were talking about the situation with Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, Lee Daniels, her blackball situation, which was very
Yeah.
interesting because we found out. And I don't know if this was already common knowledge, but Tyler Perry had nothing to do with Precious, but he was going around telling people that she's difficult. I
Mhm.
always thought it was Lee,
Mhm.
and like Oprah and Tyler just stayed compliant. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But it
Mhm.
was Tyler Perry,
Mhm.
and people actually called him. Like she said, Kevin Hart called. I mean, she has the recording of
Mhm.
him admitting that he was wrong for doing that. Kevin Hart called him. They said somebody else, Reverend Sharpton, Reverend
Mhm.
Al Sharpton. Um, it's so crazy. It's like, oh my goodness, like what was the reason? That's just what my whole question.
Money. Come on.
Money?
Stay with us. Yes. Listen, Precious was a box office hit. It
Mm-hmm.
was an Academy Award nominated movie, um, Academy Award winning movie. Monique got her Oscar from
Mm-hmm.
Precious. Um, and the potential was always there. I think that Tyler Perry, when you think about his background, him coming from being homeless in New Orleans and putting on a stage play and watching that stage play bloom into movies and television, and him becoming like this godfather of Black Hollywood in Atlanta. I think that he's very ambitious and he understood the assignment and he just wanted Monique to kind of like play the game
Mm-hmm.
with him. But Monique was in the industry before we even knew what a Tyler Perry was.
Oh yeah.
And for her, right. And so for her to put her foot down as a Black woman in Hollywood saying, no, I'm not going to work for you for free. If this is a white company, you saying you're not afraid of those boys, like, why are you asking me to do something that they would ask me to do? Right. Um, I just think that it was that he was overzealous and that, sometimes it's your own people who get bought into that lifestyle or bought into Hollywood and start doing the same thing that the oppressors do. Right. And, there are people who've worked with Tyler Perry and are grateful for Tyler Perry for creating an opportunity for them. I think he does great work for, putting on Black actors and Black actresses and creating
Mm-hmm.
opportunities and space for us to create and play. And I think that he's also a great blueprint for playwrights who are, you know, afraid to take it to the next level or to try to take it to that space. But this was a misstep in his career. And I think that if we're really going to be about Black empowerment, there are moments where we have to hold each other accountable. And I think that in this particular situation, when Monique started opening her mouth and speaking her truth, there should have been a rush of Black Hollywood to her defense, a rush of Black actresses to her defense, and actors, they were quiet because they didn't want to jeopardize their own money.
Mm-hmm.
They were quiet because they didn't want to align themselves with someone who's a disruptor, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
we've been taught that once you disrupt the process, then you also can be blackballed too. And and it's like a public lynching. Monique was publicly lynched 10 years ago because she said, no, I don't want to work for free. She was publicly lynched by her own people we admire, people that we think are dope. And in the interview, she said, Oprah stayed silent. Oprah was like, listen, look, if you want to promote the movie,
And Oprah, I mean, what would she have lost if she didn't stay silent? Nothing.
I think that if Oprah had opened her mouth and spoke and just said, I understand Monique's position and I respect it, it would have probably just died. And I think that the issue and why people were like, oh, I don't like Monique, or I don't believe her, blah, 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 is because she was left out there by herself. And I had the conversation with some of my friends about the whole Monique Precious situation, about her not wanting to promote for free. And people are like, oh, I just don't like the way she went about it. I'm just like, okay, well, I realized I was talking to people who go to a 9 to 5 every day. They clock in, somebody tells them what to do, they do it, and they get a paycheck, and that's it, right? I realized that I wasn't having conversations with people who literally have to create their own paycheck, people who have to literally create their own way every day. And when you are the person that gets to decide, listen, my time is not free. If you want me to do X, Y, and Z, it's going to cost you this much because this is what my time is worth. If you're not dealing with somebody who has those conversations, they're not going to understand it. That's why when I was going on Twitter and seeing the reactions to this, I'm like, okay, I'm literally clicking people's things like, okay, this person literally works at Rent-A-Center. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't understand what it's like to be in a room with someone who's asking you to do something that requires time away from your family, right? The things that are important to you. They want you to do it for free because of what might happen. Right. They want you to take on the risk of what might happen.
We had this conversation many episodes ago.
Right. When also in Hollywood, what you learn is contract is king. Yes, it's great building relationships. What does the black and white say? What does the black and white say? You and I had this conversation in my first season on this show. What does the contract say? If I have fulfilled my contractual obligation, anything you're asking me to do outside of that, especially if you want me to do it for free, it's considered a favor, right? And if I tell you no, you have to pay me to do X, Y, and Z. That means you drop another contract. It's called renegotiation.
And she said the touring wasn't in the contract.
It wasn't part of the contract because it was an independent film. They didn't know that it was going to win so big at Sundance. They didn't know that it was going to blow over at ABFF. They didn't know that it was going to do those things. And when it did, what should have happened from Lee Daniels, the person that did the initial contract with her, is there should have had a conversation about renegotiating her contract. Yes, she gets 5% of the film. Yes, she got paid $50,000, but we need to add in a promotion allowance because now we want to campaign for this film for the Academy. Yes, and that didn't happen.
Now I see. Okay, so now I see it. So basically, they didn't expect this to blow up the way that it did.
Right.
Usually, when we're talking about a Disney or Universal, you get the contract, you'll get a fee. So actors are getting paid for tours.
Yeah, and they know that when they sign on to a major. So when you sign on to a major studio production, you already understand, especially before you go into your reading. Before you go into your reading, if you have a good agent, you understand what could come of this movie. When they were doing Ice Age, or when they started doing the Shrek series with Austin Powers. What's his name? No, not Austin Powers. What's Austin Powers' real name? Mike Myers, right? So when you're about to, you're like, okay, this is going to be a huge franchise. Kids are going to love this, blah, blah, blah. You negotiate, okay, well, this is how much it's going to cost me to be in the movie. This is the percentage I want on the sales at the box office. This is how much it's going to cost me to promote this movie because I know it's going to be animated. It's going to be animated. It's going to be up for, it's going to be up for, an award. For the Oscars, who's on the soundtrack, blah, 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 like all those things, you can negotiate those things, and it's built into your contract so that it does feel like you're doing it for free. Like, we're gonna
and the hell out of this movie. I was doing, because I actually took film class, like film directing class, and we were trained on like budgeting for films and like all the different things that you have to like account for. Right. So I was like, okay, I can understand. So those episodes ago, I didn't get it, but also. I didn't know. I'm not sure if that was preview that Tyler Perry was the one that was doing the saying that she was difficult, because I don't think we knew that when we had that episode long ago.
But even without,
or at least I didn't know.
Even without us knowing that piece of information about Tyler Perry being the one spreading that she was difficult, we have heard since the beginning. Her story has been consistent about what she was obligated to do for that movie. She has always consistently said, "I agreed to $50,000 to be in this movie. I got 5% of the movie. They asked me to promote it after it went to a festival and won. And I told them, no, I'm not promoting it for free." That's what she said. And then what did people say? People who go to work and clock in for $15 an hour, they said, oh, she's being ungrateful, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't that she was ungrateful. You're asking her to do literal work. You're asking her to travel the country.
And that's coming out of her pocket, because of what
out of her pocket.
Hotel expenses.
Exactly. You're asking her now, of the $50,000 that she made, for her to promote this movie, it would have cost her half of that.
And let's travel from state to state. And let's be clear, the people that's working 9 to 5, if your job tells you to do something extra when you're not on the clock, or you not, I'm pretty sure your ass will say no too.
It's illegal. It's against labor laws. You can't do work off the clock. Like it's against labor laws to do work off the clock. When you clock in, okay, the contract starts. When you clock out, the contract is over. Right? So for her to have been saying for the past 10 years, listen, I don't hate these people. All I'm saying is they asked me to do something for free. I said no. And then next thing you know, I'm difficult to work with because I said no to the wrong people. I said no to the wrong people who look like me. That's what she said. So now that the rest of the story is coming out, she's been saying the same thing for 10 years. Her story has been consistent. The only people that have flip-flopped are the only people that have said one thing in private and said something different publicly.
Is Tyler and actually Oprah didn't say shit.
She ain't gonna say nothing.
And Lee Daniels, I think he tried to address it or tried to apologize, but like the damage is already done.
They owe her a public apology. All of them owe her a public apology. And they need to just admit the truth. Just say, yeah, I did it. But it's gonna cost them money. Tyler Perry's reputation after this would be very questionable. Are you for black people or are you for black people that can make you money?
I mean, that's been a decade-long conversation. I mean, that's I mean, this is the starter, but was questioning Tyler Perry. But we're all in the space where, oh my God, like he made it out the mud. He ended up getting this Hollywood like studio and he's doing big things, but it's like, yeah, but you're doing this, you're doing shit like this also. And then when you talk about, when you get into Tyler Perry films and the way that black people are depicted, that's a whole nother conversation.
He's been making money off of minstrel shows for years. Like, and it's funny, like it's
and then I found out Dia was actually is a drag queen. That is he was inspired by
Miss
a
Sophia.
drag queen. Yeah. I found out about one of my mutuals. I'm like, what?
Yeah, Miss Sophia. He came to one of her shows. He used her tag.
He used to sit in and take notes.
Yeah, he did. He did what white people do all the time. And you know, I listen. Now I don't want to, like I said, I don't want the name of our show to be changed to "Are We Canceled Yet?" But you know, Tyler Perry operates off the Beyonce method. I like that. I want it. I see it. I want to do that, and he just does it. And he makes it his, and he works on it. And I think that he has mastered his craft. He to a space where he done told us that Madea was going to be gone, and next thing you know, there's a new movie coming out. I'm like, well, damn, did she leave or not? It's a homecoming. I thought she was dead. I thought she was.
Madea hair always laid, but I don't know everybody else, child.
Well, she got the biggest budget. But yes, it's really sad to see, and I think that Monique deserves the redemption, and I think that for her to be a part and ingrained in Black female comedy history, and to have won an Oscar for an amazing performance in Precious, you know, I just think that it's sad that it took this route. Did not see this for Monique's future. Definitely thought that she was going to be, you know, she was going to be the Whoopi Goldberg. You know, like Whoopi was in comedy and just keep acting and like showing us her range and inspiring us, even though she's had some missteps with her, you know, talking to us like babies and trying to tell us what to wear and how we're supposed to look in public and stuff like that. But this is part of her charm, and I think that I'm glad that she's still able to speak her story, and that the story hasn't changed. Her story has been consistent for 10 years. 10 years, a whole decade. So anyway, I believe Monique. I have always believed Monique. And you know, I hope that this rolls into a space where there can be a conversation. Maybe they need to call Zeus and have the conversation. With Monique. Like, with Monique.
It's gonna have to take this because I want to see Monique and other stuff. Like I, you know, as far as her comedy tour and stuff like that, movies. Like I don't think that it's over for Monique. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like only way for us to get to that point is if we have this conversation and this reconciliation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, anything to reconcile. It's just an admission of truth. Like I feel like as a nation of people, I'm not talking about America, but like there are so many truths that we hide that just hinder us. And I don't know what people are so afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we just live in the truth, like they say, the truth shall set you free. Once you live in the truth, like there's nothing else. What is there else to be said? And you
Mm-hmm.
can really move on from stuff. People are still carrying around lies and secrets they have since childhood. Like live in your truth and let that be it. Let live in
Yeah.
your truth. If we all just live in our truth, I feel like the world would be in a totally different space, right? And kind of goes back to our area of politics. People politically operate in their truth in that space, right? I believe this. You know how strong people are about their political beliefs? I
Mm-hmm.
believe this, and this, right? Live in that, be in that, operate in that, right? Um, However, you'll be surprised to see that once everyone starts living in their truth, starts speaking their truth, and operating in that space, there's going to be so much room for understanding, so much room
Mm-hmm.
for communication, so much room for forgiveness.
Yeah.
And that is where we will find progress. Like we get stifled in these spaces because we get to a stalemate where you have people who want to move forward and you have people who just will not. And it just keeps like this. It hinders progress. If every person says, well, this is what my truth is, okay, well, this is what my truth is. I hear you, you hear me, even if we don't agree. I hear you, I understand you. If you hurt me, I forgive you. I hurt you, please forgive me, or I'm sorry. And then it creates so much more space and room for everybody. And I think that
Right.
as Black people, we have to get in the practice more of holding each other accountable in truth and in love, understanding that yes, what I'm saying may hurt you, or what I'm saying, may it may cost you something by me telling you the truth, right? But I'm doing this because I actually care about you and us. And I want us to get in the space where we can operate in that space freely because there are people watching us. People are watching Monique. People are watching Tyler Perry. People are watching Lee Daniels. People have been watching Oprah for years and idolizing and building their life blueprint off of these people. So what happens when we see them get to a stalemate? It just says, okay, well, there may be a point in my life where I'm not going to be able to move forward because I'm being hindered by my own people, because of
Mm-hmm.
somebody else's arrogance or somebody else's inability to apologize or to say, you know what, I was wrong.
Yeah.
I was
It
wrong.
costs nothing.
I was wrong. So yeah, I was glad that she did that interview. I wish that she would release the tape, even though there are implications that if she does release the tape publicly, that Tyler would be able to take punitive action because he was recorded without his consent. But if there is evidence, like Tyler
Yeah. In
just
what state? Because there's some states that don't care about that law.
well, I mean, she's in California. I think California does that law. The same
Oh,
law against
shit.
revenge porn. You can't record people without their consent. That's wiretapping. That's a federal offense. That's a felony.
But damn, she should have been in Jersey. Because I felt yeah, that law ain't in Jersey.
All you
But
got, oh, well, yeah, in Jersey, you can say, I'm recording this conversation. All you need is one person's consent. Like, I'm going to record this conversation. This is such and such
who?
for my record.
Here I
Hey,
am.
girl. How y'all doing? But yeah, I really wish that, I hope it gets better.
Period.